Howdy, this is Wild Gunner doing my tabletop review of the PK-01V Red Dot sight from Kalinka Optics. It's a Russian-made culminating sight that you can co-witness with. It's the only one on the market that I know of that you can use this standard left-sided rail and actually co-witness. There's a more expensive American-made rail now that you can do that, and there's obviously all the Ultimax and etc. and Midwest Industries ones that you can attach to the front, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but I prefer, it also makes the weapon more front heavy, and I generally like to clamp the fewest number of things to the barrel as possible when I'm actually working with a gun. Now, there's a few unique features about this other than co-witness capability. One is that this the on-off switch is there's two off positions. There's all the way on the low setting, turns it off. Then obviously it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until you get all the way past the brightest setting, turns it off too, and then it stops that direction. So there's actually two different on-off switches, which I'm not entirely sure why the Russians decided to do that, but you know, whatever, it seemed like a good idea, and it works just fine. I don't really use anything higher than that. About brightest setting gets turns pretty freaking huge and imprecise. But this cap here is actually the only problem I had with this optic. The rest of it's built like a tank. It's fairly heavy by the standards of optic mounts. But this cap back here is held on by this tiny little screw in that hole that you can see. And that screw doesn't come secured in any way. It's just screwed in on its own. And after I fired about 500 rounds through this optic, it backed out far enough that this whole assembly just fell off, and I had to scramble around looking for it. And not the sort of thing you want to have to do in any kind of, you know, high stress situation, or when you've got other people around to point and laugh at your ass for losing your on-off switch for your red dot. Which is really easy to fix if you've got a very small screwdriver, which conveniently I do. I just Loctited the thing, screwed it back in, and I've fired several thousand rounds through it since then, and I've had zero further problems with anything on this optic. The last semi-unique feature is this, it's pretty close to the standard side rail, but the one noticeable difference is that normally you have a backstop here that you slide the rail on all the way, it'll stop, and then you would lock it in place. Well, this one doesn't have a backstop, so you can just kind of keep on going. And what locks it in place is actually this groove cut in the rail. When you close the lever, which you can't close it unless it's lined up properly, actually protrudes down into that. So you still have a consistent, repeatable, you know, you still only got one position you can mount the thing in, so that you can take it on, put it off, and you know what I mean, and still keep your zero. And so far it's worked out splendidly. I've never noticed any shift in my point of impact after taking it apart. Which brings to another part, is that when it's this low, you can't actually disassemble the weapon. You have to take the optic off to pull all the guts out, which, as I said, isn't a big problem because it still stays zeroed as far as I can tell. But, you know, it's just one of those little things to keep in mind. And another thing probably want to keep in mind, this is my favorite feature of this optic, is the fact that I got the whole thing $270. That was it. Brand new out of the box. Came with a this moly ringed carrying case. It's camouflage for whatever reason, which I don't use because, you know, obviously I'm keeping it on the weapon. And it also comes with these lens covers, which I'm kind of meh. They get in the way, and I'll probably wind up taking those off. And they also have these little tie downs for your adjustment knob covers and for your battery compartment cover, so that if you know, you can just kind of unscrew them and just let them hang and you don't have to worry about losing them, which is pretty convenient. And this also uses AAA batteries, which is, I'd rather AA, and you know, everyone would probably rather AA just because they're more available. And you know, it's the only piece of tactical equipment that I own that uses AAA batteries. But battery life is pretty good. I can't tell you how long I've had this thing, how long the batteries have lasted, but I'm still on my first set of batteries. And it gets bumped on to the lowest setting. It's, you know, not super easy, but, you know, I had it kicking around the back of my truck, and, oh, it got the inside of a gun case, obviously. Gets bumped up, and it's been on for, I am aware of it being on for at least 20 hours, you know, when I'm actually shooting it, and it's also come on in the gun case plenty of times. And it's still doing quite well. That's all I've got to say about the, oh, not quite, is the, if you really want a super high-end, you know, like an aim point or some really good optic that you can still co-witness with, you can unscrew the rings, and the rings are standard 30mm rings, and Clink Optics sells just the rail and scope ring accessory as a unit for $70, and it'll fit with any 30mm optic, you know, aim point. I know Trigicon makes some crazy one now, and you can just use it with that. I would highly recommend anybody with a AK type rifle who wants a red dot to seriously think about this optic. It's extremely good for the price you're paying, and the price you're paying ain't all that much. And that's all I've got to say for reals this time. Y'all have a nice day.